Thank you for your practice, and welcome back to another gathering. I just want to acknowledge that the fact that we are here learning and practicing the Dharma is something that we continue our tradition. The acknowledgement is important because if you remember in many sutras, when the Shakyamuni Buddha delivered some important teachings, Buddhas from all over places came and acknowledges him. Even though the Buddha didn't want to, he obviously didn't need that acknowledgement from his peers, but it happened anyway. So I want you to also acknowledge yourself that you spend time being here and practice and learning together. It is something that your future self would thank you. So, as I said in the email, today we'll go a little bit deeper into someone who is important to all of us. We may think that we know him, but we'll have another hard look at the Buddha, not just as a historical figure, but also a spiritual reflection. And I have a request for those of you who are not turning on the video. If you absolutely cannot turn on the video because you're doing something important, it's fine. But if you are able, please turn on the video and be with us wholeheartedly, fully be present with us. And Buddha will acknowledge you all. So there are two important events before and after the Buddha became the Buddha. The first one, when he was almost reach enlightenment, someone showed up. Does anybody know who? It's Mara. Mara show up. Why did Mara show up? Mara show up to discourage the Buddha, saying that the path that you are going is not worth it. Just give up. You have everything. Why do you bother doing this? Nobody care. Why do you do this? So Mara, and remember, Mara wasn't somebody lower than us. Mara was a semi-god. Remember that in Buddhist cosmology, Mara was semi-god, like almost God. And we should understand that in Buddhism, gods are not the creator God that other religions mentioned, so don't be confused. There are so many gods or deities in Buddhism. So Mara was and still is one of them, right? Showed up, discouraged the Buddha, saying that what you are doing doesn't make any sense. You see, nobody did it before. Why do you bother? And Mara used all kinds of tactics, strategies to convince the Buddha to give up. So it is written in the history, in the sutra about Mara. We could say that, you know, it was there to kind of signify the importance of the Buddha's enlightenment. But I think there is deeper meaning than that. So look at our lives. When you do something for yourself, like this spiritual practice, like this meditation practice, who showed up? Who is the Mara in your life? Maybe that's not a person. Maybe that's something you think. Maybe the thoughts that discourages you is your Mara. And remember, the Buddha wasn't discouraged. He used that discouragement as a fuel for his enlightenment, as the energy for his enlightenment. So for example, if when you are meditating and someone is doing something in the kitchen, kind of annoying you, you would say, oh, that's my Mara, right? They are disturbing my peace. They are bothering me. But look again. Instead of complaining about why don't they let me be peaceful, just say, oh, they come to my meditation. They come to my meditation as a part of my meditation. Because remember, our meditation, our practice is not limited in this body. It has to be pervasive. Because the purpose of transformation is not just for this body, it's not just for this person, right? It has to be spreading out. The benefit should be pervasive. So whatever comes to our meditation, allow it to come. We are just a small part of the universe. We occupy this universe for 100 years and we die. How come we ask the world, the universe, to let us be peaceful if we are not peaceful with our own existence? We have to be really mindful of our thought, our perspective about, hey, life, let me be peaceful. We occupy this earth, we use the resources of this earth, and we have to accept what comes to our life, what comes to our meditation as a part of our negotiation with a grateful existence that we are given. So just with that small switch in perspective, we'll have a different outlook when something happens. So that is, who is your Mara, right? That's the first part. The second part, immediately after the Buddha achieved liberation. So what happened? Who showed up? Nobody showed up. After he achieved liberation, after he became, the Buddha, he thought to himself, I'm not going to teach anything because nobody cares. You see, The first one, before when he encountered Mara convinced him, don't do it, nobody cares. But he did it. Second part, he achieved it. He thought to himself, this time no Mara, okay? He thought to himself, I'm not going to teach this profound, subtle teaching because nobody cares. People are seeking something else. People are chasing something else. And they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't understand. And they wouldn't accept them because it's too hard for them. They're not looking for liberation. They're looking for something else. But as the sutra stated that some deity, some god came down and invited him to teach. So someone say, in order to appreciate the teaching, someone should invite the Buddha to teach. If it is given freely, then people don't appreciate it. So there must be someone who invited him to teach, and that God came down and asked, invited him to teach. And then he contemplates people, and he saw that different people are in different places. It's like lotus in a muddy pond. Some lotus are out of the water, bloom beautifully. Some lotuses are under the water, still in the mud. But there are people who would benefit from this teaching, as if just like some lotus which are out of the water. So some of us are still in the mud. Some is just emerging, and some are still, in the form of the seed. So the reason I share these anecdotes is that sometimes when you learn, there would be obstacles, there would be doubt. But remember, there's always a way to look at things. If you say, nobody cares about what I am going to share, then you miss a great deal of sharing and helping other people who are out of the water, who are not in the mud. There will be people who listen, right? There will be Mara who tried to convince you to give up. There will be God who invite you to teach. What is important is the way you look at your perspective about what you have and how you can contribute to share, to spread this. And when you do that, trust me, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas will acknowledge you. Okay? So we start kind of in the middle of the Buddha's life. Now, when did that happen? There must be something that triggered the Buddha, the prince. He was the prince, to embark on a journey that was hard, right? Because for those of us who know him historically, we knew that he had a good life. His father tried to give him everything, kind of give him the ignorance about life. But deep down, there was something wrong. Because remember, after he was born, his mom died. What kind of trauma that would leave a person like that? I don't care if he was a bodhisattva, but losing someone dearly to him was traumatic. So that must have something to his renunciation, to his dissatisfactory in life. The more his father tried to stop him, the more he wanted to explore. That's why he encountered 3 universal signs. Have we encountered those signs? Those 3 are old age, sickness, and death. Some of us have encountered 1, some encountered 2, but I believe none of us encountered 3 since we're still here, right? So he encountered that because he was dumbfounded, and that coupled with what he experienced unconsciously when his mom died was something as that was the final drop of water. But there was a solution for him. Look at us. How many times have we been to funerals? Have we seen sickness? Have we seen old people? I have seen some old people in here, but we are still quite confident that we're not going to die tomorrow. We're not going to die in the foreseeable future. We still have something to cling to, all right? What's wrong with us? Is there something wrong with us, or are we just so optimistic that, the Buddha teaches suffering, but the Buddha also teaches happiness, right? So the Buddha, the prince, saw the last thing he saw together with the 3 signs, which is a way out for him, which is to find something else. Okay, I am not encouraging you to be monk or nuns. Okay, so the Buddha saw a ascetic, which was common at the time. Okay, he saw one, and in him it sparked something. It sparked something that invite questions. There is an alternative to what is his living. There is something different from what he is seeking. So he encountered that. Just like us, we encounter a spiritual path. Just like what we are doing here. Deep down we know that there is something more than this. Something more than life than meets the eye, right? So that's the reality. The reality is we were born, we grow old, we get sick, and we died. If that happened like that, perfect, right? Do you want to die when you're not old? No. So it happens like that. If it happens like that, you are blessed. If not, okay, my condolences. Our society focus on, youth, health, productivity, and we perplex about the nature of impermanence, right? To be able to live this long, we must undergo certain types of impermanence. We don't want to get old, we don't want to get sick, we always want to be productive, that's why we work hard, and we think that if we have more, we will be happier, and it's just not that. It's just not that. We have to be able to embody the spirits of, okay, if you want to have an alternative, what would you want to, what are you willing to sacrifice? Like the Buddha, he sacrificed something that's important to him. We don't say that we should give up our family, but in order for your peace and quiet and calm, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice 10 minutes of your sleep to get up and meditate? Are you willing to sacrifice an hour learning Buddhism? Are you willing to sacrifice some kind of fun activity out there to be with yourself? That is what you have to decide. That is what you can control. Because there are things in life we cannot control. And we already know what those things are. But there are things we can definitely control. And that is the sacrifice that we have to make. And the Buddha chose renunciation as his way. So he renounced certain things. He sacrificed certain things. At first it's for him. At first he's embarking on a journey for himself, right? So he's willing to do that. There's something that we have to remember. There's always either or. Sometimes there is both and, but there is always something that you either choose this or you face this. We don't want to be suffering on our deathbed and have no way to overcome that. You either choose to be aware of your mind, be mindful of your mind now, or during that moment, during difficult moment, your mind will go crazy all over the places. So that is the either or that we have to really think hard and careful. So if there is something that you take away from the historical Buddha's life, that is the sacrifice that he made. And how does that translate into your life? Because I know that if you want to have a family, you have to sacrifice your personal space. You have to sacrifice your, freedom, right? If you want to have kids, you have to sacrifice your time, your energy. So there are certain sacrifices that you have made so far, and now this is for your spiritual growth. So to decide what kind of sacrifices that you make. If I ask you what you want, you will have an answer within 1 minute. What do you want? I want to be calm, I want to be peaceful, I want to be kind, all kinds of things. But if I ask you, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to achieve that, what you want? Then you have a difficult time thinking about that, right? And the path that the Buddha chose wasn't easy. Remember, he spent 6 years doing hard practices like not eating too much, trying to torture himself, actually, trying to dissociate his body from his mind. He thinks that in order for the mind to be free, you have to be able to tolerate the most difficult physical pain that there is. But he was wrong. He accepted that. He accepted that. And he did that. He did that for us, separating physical pain from the mental pain, from the mental suffering, is not the way. Don't hate your body. Don't hate the world. If you do that, you are following the wrong footstep that he did, and he warned you already. So after 6 years, that's a long time, right? Nowadays, you get a degree in 4 years, another master in 2 years. That's a long time. If I ask you to give up that degree, would you give up? No, you work hard, right? You work hard to earn that. Why would you give up? So the Buddha did that for 6 years, and he gave up. And we don't have to follow that. We don't have to, we don't have to do what he did wrong, right? So the body and the mind are interconnected. If you don't believe me, try to have a toothache. You will see what I mean. Or you have a headache. You see how calm you meditate. Okay? So the body and the mind are not separated. And remember, there were 5 other people who also practiced like that with him. So that to prove that practice was prominent during the time. If you want to liberate, torture your body, ignore your body, Just focus on the mind. Just train your mind to overcome all kinds of physical pain. You will succeed. And that wasn't the case, right? He gave up. He took food again, and remember his childhood's meditation practice under the rose apple tree, right? And he succeeded. So remember the incident when he was a kid. He sat under the tree and just playing, meditating, just breathing. I don't think he meditated that much when he was a kid, but he remembered that, there was something in me already. Why don't I nurture that instead of torturing myself? It's again return to the mind, the nature within. And he profoundly promoted that all of us has that. We just kind of ignore that. We focus on negative things easier than focus on positive things in us. So he kind of reminds us, okay, look, I know that there are so many things that is wrong in your life, but remember there are also many things that are not wrong, that are beautiful, that's profound in your life. Look at that. Stop looking at the part of negative things and blame yourself, blame other people because of those. If you blame them and they go away, that's good. Do that. If not, change. Switch to another part. When I don't know if you hear the metaphor pointing at the moon. Right? So if I use my finger, I point at the moon. Where do you look? The moon, right? You use my finger to look at the moon. So the pointing is important. Okay? If you have kids, small kids, like 2 years old, or if you observe kids at that age, they point a lot. And that their pointing compels your attention. If your kid point at something and if they see that your attention is paying toward that pointing, then they will point more. And they get more excited and point more, and then you look at, you pay attention. So when did we forget to point? We grow up and we forget that we have that power to command attention. And the most important person we need to command attention is ourselves. So keep pointing, but don't look at the finger. Point at something that is positive, that is in you, that is already there. Because we always point at the wrong thing. We point at negative emotion, we point at suffering, we don't remember. We are repeating the way that the Buddha did for 6 years and he admitted he was wrong. We point at those and we forget that, We should point at something else. So again, we may know the Buddha historically, but if the Buddha appear in front of us right now, I guess we would debate whether it is a Buddha or not. Agree? Because, each of us has a mental image of what he looks like, who he was, how he sounds. Maybe he sounds something Indian. If he speaks English, we would be surprised. And that destroyed the real Buddha. And he wouldn't want that for his students. So now, anytime that you read a story about his life, look hard, contemplate, why did he do that? Why did that happen? How am I going to embody that? How does that manifest in my life? That is a better, relatively closer to the Buddha than just knowing him, reading historical facts. And remember, this is the most important. After he delivered his first teaching to his first five monks, who were also did not like their body, did not want to teach, just want to go to the forest, stay there, practice and die. He said, monks, go, teach. Don't go to people in the same direction. Spread out. Teach. Okay? Did they listen to him? Yes, they did. Reluctantly. Because they also had same doubt. They would say, nobody cares. Do you care enough to learn and to teach? Or you would think, nobody cares about what I'm going to say. What if I'm wrong? If you ever try to explain your practice to anyone that is teaching, just do that for me. That is good enough. So, embody that spirit, you'll be closer to the Buddha.